NLE Choppa, the so-called suburban goofy rapper, just dropped a full track dedicated to the GOAT, NBA YoungBoy. And guess what? YoungBoy didn't stay quiet. He fired back, calling Choppa a Tupac wannabe goofy. But this isn't just about a diss track. It's way deeper. It's about betrayal, hypocrisy, and a desperate grab for attention that might backfire hard on Choppa. It's crazy, because all it would take is one call from YB, and NLE could be packed up and sent out of the picture real quick. What makes this whole situation sting even more is the history between them. NLE Choppa used to worship NBA YoungBoy, no exaggeration. Back in 2018 and 2019, Choppa was copying everything. The hairstyle with dreads, the aggressive flow, the Louisiana energy, even though he's from Memphis. He said in multiple interviews that YB was his favorite rapper and that he dreamed of collaborating with him. In one 2019 interview, Choppa literally said, "That's my favorite artist. I need a song with him." He was studying YB's music religiously, trying to capture that same raw emotion and street authenticity that made YB blow up. You could see it clearly in his early videos. The camera angles, the energy, the aesthetic, all lifted straight from YoungBoy's playbook. He even made a song called Free YB when YoungBoy was locked up in 2018. That's how deep the fandom went. Choppa was publicly showing love and support when most artists stayed silent because of the controversy around YB's cases. That wasn't a throwaway move. It came from a place of loyalty and admiration. People close to Choppa back then said he would study YB's interviews, copy his mannerisms, even try to talk like him. This wasn't casual fandom. This was full-on obsession. Choppa wanted to be the next YoungBoy. So this beef? It's not just another rap clash. This is a story of a fan turned enemy. Imagine your little brother, who used to follow you everywhere, suddenly turning against you. That's the kind of betrayal that hits different, especially when it's someone you might have helped if they just asked.
How the beef started.
YoungBoy my favorite rapper. I'm trying to be with YoungBoy, he my favorite rapper.
And this kind of thing isn't new in hip-hop either. We've seen it before. The people who go the hardest against someone often used to be their biggest fans. It's like they have to overcompensate to prove they're not riding anymore. They flip sides completely, trying to erase the fact that they once idolized you. Then came the breaking point. The Instagram Live incident in 2019. Choppa was on live, just vibing, when his friends in the background started dissing YB, calling him fake, saying he wasn't really about that life. Choppa didn't say a word. He just sat there, smiling and laughing. Later, he claimed he wasn't co-signing what they said. But come on, when it's your live and your friends are disrespecting someone you call your favorite rapper, that silence speaks volumes. The optics were bad. Fans saw right through it. The same guy who once made a Free YB song was now letting people clown YB in front of thousands without saying a thing. That's when fans started calling him fake, disloyal, a snake. They wanted answers. But instead of apologizing or explaining, Choppa stayed quiet. That silence made everything worse. Then came the Fredo Bang connection. Choppa started hanging out with Fredo, YB's biggest enemy from Baton Rouge. This wasn't some random link-up. This was strategic. Everyone knows the deep-rooted beef between Fredo and YB, over G-Money's death, over street issues, over respect. People have lost their lives behind that feud. So when Choppa linked up with Fredo, it wasn't innocent. They didn't just take photos together. They dropped a whole song called Gangsta Talk, where they threw subliminal shots at YB. That was the moment Choppa crossed the line. You can't act innocent while making music with your idol's main op. And just when it couldn't get worse, Choppa started dating YoungBoy's ex. Now, I'm not naming her, because she doesn't need to be dragged into this. But in hip-hop culture, that's one of the biggest violations you can make. This wasn't some old fling. It was recent, and it felt intentional, like Choppa was trying to get under YB's skin, and he didn't even hide it. He went public, posting her, showing her off, rubbing it in like, "Look what I got now." For someone who once looked up to YB, that was beyond disrespectful, not just to YoungBoy, but to himself. Then came the King Von situation in 2020, when tensions between Lil Durk and YoungBoy were at an all-time high. Choppa made his stance clear, siding with Durk and OTF publicly. He posted tributes to Von, showed love to Durk, and interacted with his circle online. At that point, it was clear NLE Choppa wasn't just drifting away from YB, he was standing against him. This beef wasn't just about music, it was real. People were actually dying. The feds were watching closely, and that's when NLE Choppa decided to pick a side, right in the middle of it all. Let's be real, the Lil Durk vs NBA YoungBoy situation has always been serious. This wasn't just a couple of rappers trading diss tracks. This was years of bloodshed, real violence, federal investigations, RICO charges, all that. So for Choppa to inject himself into that kind of chaos was reckless, dangerous, and honestly, stupid. By that point, it was crystal clear to everyone. Choppa wasn't accidentally beefing with YB. He was choosing to be on the other side. Every move he made looked intentional, like he wanted to disrespect YB on purpose, maybe to win favor with the industry people who were against YoungBoy, or to prove he wasn't a YB fanboy anymore. And that's when YoungBoy finally snapped. YB dropped "I Know" and went full demon mode. He didn't hold back. He came at Choppa hard, threatening his family, talking about catching bodies, and making it clear this wasn't rap beef anymore. This was street business with real consequences. The lyrics were so raw and personal that even YB's own fans were like, damn, he really hates this man. There were no subliminals, no metaphors. YB was direct, brutal, and emotional. You could feel the betrayal in every bar, because for YB, this wasn't just another enemy. This was someone who once claimed to love him, who called him their favorite rapper, supported him when nobody else would, and then flipped. From YoungBoy's point of view, that's deep. Imagine someone you respected, someone who wanted to work with you, suddenly doing songs with your enemies, dating your ex, and siding with people who literally want you gone. That kind of betrayal hits way harder than hate from a regular op. When your enemies hate you, that's expected. But when someone who once looked up to you turns against you, that pain runs deeper. And you could hear it in YB's voice. That's why he went so vicious on that track. The KO diss track fast, forward to 2025. And now we've got the KO situation. NLE Choppa dropped a brand new diss track aimed straight at YoungBoy. But this one came with a twist no one saw coming. Instead of the usual street threats and tough talk, Choppa came at it from a spiritual, conscious rapper angle. Now, you gotta remember, around 2020 or 2021, Choppa went through his so-called spiritual transformation. He started talking about meditation, veganism, healing crystals, positive energy, basically rebranding himself from a violent street rapper to a woke motivational artist. He stopped glorifying violence, changed his message, and tried to present himself as someone enlightened, a voice for peace and awareness. So when word got out that he was dropping a diss track for YoungBoy, fans were confused. Like, how do you go from peace, love, and energy to dissing one of the most dangerous rappers alive? And then the track dropped, and it made sense, kind of. Instead of threatening YB, Choppa tried to teach him. He positioned himself as the enlightened one, calling YoungBoy lost. He said YB was stuck, playing a violent character, pretending to live the street life just for record sales. He basically accused YB of being fake, of keeping up a gangster image because it sells, not because that's who he really is. But here's the irony. Choppa is the one who used to copy YB's every move. He used to dress like him, talk like him, rap like him, even make songs in his support. So for him to now turn around and call YB inauthentic, that's wild. That's projection at its finest. Choppa didn't stop there. He accused YB of being a bad influence, said his music promotes violence, crime, and destruction, especially among the youth. He framed himself as the positive role model trying to uplift kids, while painting YoungBoy as the reason they're going down the wrong path. He straight up implied that YB's music is why young people end up in jail, dead or lost in the streets. That's a heavy accusation, because Choppa wasn't just dissing a rapper, he was blaming YB for entire social issues. But here's the biggest hypocrisy. Choppa used to rap about the same exact things. Songs like Shotta Flow and Camelot were filled with gun bars, gang talk, and street threats. The same energy he's now preaching against is what made him famous in the first place. So to turn around and act like he's morally above it now, that's what made fans call cap. He said that YB's music glorifies a lifestyle that only ends one of two ways: young black men in graves or behind bars. According to him, YB has blood on his hands for every kid who listened to his songs and went out to do something reckless. But the issue with that argument is that it completely ignores what YB's music actually means to his fans. For millions of young people, especially young black men coming from similar environments. YB's music doesn't push them toward violence. It gives voice to the violence and pain they're already living through. Choppa implied that YB sends other people to do the things he wouldn't do himself, that he's not really about the life he raps about. He suggested that YB has people around him who handle his dirty work while he stays clean and collects checks. That's a bold claim, especially coming from Choppa, because YB's street credibility is well documented. He's been in shootouts, been shot, lost close friends and family to violence, and has been through the system multiple times. Then, Choppa called him emotional, saying YB makes decisions based on emotions instead of logic, that he's reactive and hot-headed, not calculated or strategic. In street culture, calling someone emotional basically means calling them weak, suggesting they can't control themselves and move off feelings instead of logic. The video for KO is where Choppa doubled down on his conscious warrior image. The video even featured a YB lookalike, same dreads, same style, same overall aesthetic, making it obvious who he was referring to. The most talked about moment is when Choppa snatches a cigarette from the fake YB's mouth in slow motion. In his mind, this was symbolic, like he was trying to wake YB up, to make him stop destroying himself through negativity, guiding him toward a better path. The video's imagery was heavy with symbolism. Light versus darkness, knowledge versus ignorance. Choppa was shown meditating and reading, while the fake YB was surrounded by chaos. He went all in on the spiritual warrior saving a lost soul theme. The whole aesthetic was less about beef and more about trying to help YB see the light. But here's the elephant in the room, the hypocrisy that nobody's talking about. NLE Choppa has been preaching positivity, consciousness, good energy, and leaving beef behind for years. He constantly talks about meditation, veganism, and healing trauma through spirituality, about how violence and negativity are lower vibrations that we need to rise above. So with all that spiritual talk, he drops a diss track aimed directly at another artist. How is that spreading positive energy? How is that consciousness? If he's really about peace and unity like he says, why start a beef at all? The fact that he felt the need to drop a diss track goes against everything he's been preaching. And let's be real, NBA YoungBoy hasn't even been thinking about NLE Choppa. YB is one of the biggest artists in hip-hop. Billions of streams, millions of dollars, legal battles, a family to care for. He's not losing sleep over what Choppa is doing. This whole, "I'm trying to wake you up and save you" angle doesn't feel like genuine concern. It feels more like Choppa trying to get YB's attention and make himself relevant again. Dissing YB guarantees views, attention, and streams because YB's name carries massive weight. His fan base is huge, and they'll talk about anyone who comes at him. That's free promotion money can't buy. So even if Choppa wraps it in a conscious spiritual message, at its core, it still feels like a clout move. Now, based on YB's history, here's what could happen. He might ignore it completely. Lately, YB's been on a wave where he doesn't respond to everyone who mentions him. He could easily see Choppa as not worth his time. YB's got bigger priorities. His legal cases, his business ventures, his music, and his family. But if he does respond, it won't be peaceful or spiritual. It'll be that raw, street energy he's known for. Murder references, threats, and real aggression. When YB feels disrespected, he doesn't hold back. And if he thinks Choppa crossed the line, his response could be ruthless. Sometimes YB responds subtly, through Instagram captions, interviews, or bars in a new song. He might drop a few cryptic lines that make it clear he's not worried about Choppa, but also that he's not letting the disrespect slide. And honestly, his fans might handle it for him. YB's fan base is one of the most loyal in hip-hop, and they've already been tearing Choppa apart online since KO dropped. That alone sends a message. He doesn't even need to respond personally because his fans will do it for him. My prediction, YB probably won't drop a full diss track. He's moving differently now, more focused on his music and legal issues. But we'll likely hear some subliminal shots in his next songs. Bars that Choppa and his fans will instantly recognize. And honestly, not responding directly might be even more disrespectful. Basically saying, "You're not even worth my time." Sometimes that silence cuts deeper than any words could. Looking at the bigger picture, you've got two sides. On one hand, there's NBA YoungBoy, raw, unfiltered street rap that reflects real life in America's toughest neighborhoods. On the other hand, there's NLE Choppa, conscious rap that tries to bring positivity back into hip-hop. Both have value. Hip-hop needs artists who tell the harsh truth, and it also needs those spreading hope and healing. The real problem comes when either side acts like their way is the only right one. When Choppa disses YB for making negative music, he's dismissing the real-life experiences that YB's fans live through every day. Hip-hop is big enough for both messages to exist. So what do you think? Is NLE Choppa genuinely trying to help the culture? Or is this just a calculated move to get attention by going after one of hip-hop's biggest names? Should YB respond or stay silent and let it pass? And what about this conscious diss track approach? Is it the future of hip-hop beefs or completely hypocritical? Either way, this situation has the whole community talking, and we'll be here to break down every update as it unfolds. Choppa didn't stop there. He accused YB of being a bad influence, said his music promotes violence, crime, and destruction, especially among the youth. He framed himself as the positive role model trying to uplift kids, while painting YoungBoy as the reason they're going down the wrong path. He straight up implied that YB's music is why young people end up in jail, dead, or lost in the streets. That's a heavy accusation, because Choppa wasn't just dissing a rapper, he was blaming YB for entire social issues. But here's the biggest hypocrisy. Choppa used to rap about the same exact things. Songs like Shotta Flow and Camelot were filled with gun bars, gang talk, and street threats. The same energy he's now preaching against is what made him famous in the first place. So to turn around and act like he's morally above it now, that's what made fans call cap. He said that YB's music glorifies a lifestyle that only ends one of two ways: young black men in graves or behind bars. According to him, YB has blood on his hands for every kid who listened to his songs and went out to do something reckless. But the issue with that argument is that it completely ignores what YB's music actually means to his fans. For millions of young people, especially young black men coming from similar environments, YB's music doesn't push them toward violence. It gives voice to the violence and pain they're already living through. Choppa implied that YB sends other people to do the things he wouldn't do himself, that he's not really about the life he raps about. He suggested that YB has people around him who handle his dirty work while he stays clean and collects checks. That's a bold claim, especially coming from Choppa, because YB's street credibility is well documented. He's been in shootouts, been shot, lost close friends and family to violence, and has been through the system multiple times. Then, Choppa called him emotional, saying YB makes decisions based on emotions instead of logic, that he's reactive and hot-headed, not calculated or strategic. In street culture, calling someone emotional basically means calling them weak, suggesting they can't control themselves and move off feelings instead of